some notable people are speaking out about the tragedy in Texas. Matthew McConaughey was actually born in Uvalde and describes yesterday's act of violence as an epidemic we can control. He posted a statement saying, quote, "Whichever side of the aisle we may stand on, we all know we can do better. We must do better." Taylor Swift broke her Twitter hiatus, saying, quote, "Filled with rage and grief and so broken by the murders in Uvalde." And LeBron James tweeted, "There simply has to be change. Has to be. Praying to the heavens above to all with kids these days in schools." And a lot of people are talking about NBA coach Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors. He expressed his anger at a press conference. Take a listen.
Do you realize that 90% of Americans, regardless of political party, want background check, universal background check? 90% of us. We are being held hostage by 50 senators in Washington who refuse to even put it to a vote, despite what we, the American people, want. They won't vote on it because they want to hold on to their own power. It's pathetic. I've had enough.
It is pathetic. And you saw his lip quiver. You saw real emotion. He was supposed to talk about basketball in the game, and he said, "I'm not going to talk about basketball." When a handful of miles away, children are dead.
Yeah.
Yes, and his father is dead because of gun violence. And this is kind of where we are. You know, as he said that, you know, I don't like to have something prepared when I come in. I like to have all the information and just kind of listen to what's been said. And what he was talking about, you know, 90% of us, I think Americans are starting to understand, especially when we start talking about redistricting and all that, the platitudes we use for that. This is minoritarian rule. We are all being ruled by a few people. And no matter what happens, they give us the little platitudes and thoughts and prayers, but nothing changes because there's a small amount of people that have their hand on the steering wheel and the gear shift of the direction of this country. And that's why people keep going, well, what should we do? And why isn't anybody doing it? Because a lot of those people, let's be quite honest, are being paid. And
their kids are protected in schools with security and CIA, so it doesn't affect their family.
They keep getting votes.
I thought about that, Sam, but a lot of those people understand what it's like to make that phone call and not know if they're returning home after the insurrection. They understand that, and that didn't change. So what does that tell you? Because it's not like we always say that it doesn't affect you, but it did. It did affect you for a minute, right? There was a time where you didn't know if you were going to return back home to your family. And then what happened? We had a lot of talk. Then it became what? Not a fight to make sure that people are safe where they work or safe where they shop or worship. It became a fight to control the narrative. And then everybody collectively just decided that the narrative was more important than actually taking some action. And what do we have now? We have all of this blood that is literally on their hands.
Yep. I agree.
Because it was what? It's like if something that doesn't affect you, if you have something that affects you more, the power, the money, the notoriety, that was actually greater than that moment, those hours that they didn't know if they were going to go back home. So what does that tell you?
Not only that, I'll let you know that Trump's speaking at the NRA. They just announced no guns are allowed in at the NRA because they don't want to get shot. And to me, that says so much to me about how much we are allowing babies to be killed for their right to get money. Lauren Boebert, our own representative, tweeted today.
Don't say our.
Excuse me, you're right. Yeah. Colorado, you're absolutely right. We can't legislate evil. Then what are you doing?
Right. And Tori,
then why are you taking a seat? And why are you taking the money? And why are you letting our babies die? Because you're absolutely right. 90% of us want a background check, a federal registry, and red flag laws. Common sense. No one's taking your guns. We're simply calling for what the majority of Americans want, and you ain't doing it.
Right. And Tori brought up something I want to say this really quick, Sam, because it's important about the narrative that you mentioned, and then what you said sparked it in me. Keep an eye out for the narrative in terms of like lone gunmen, and when it's kids of color, they're black men, even though they're 18, 17 years old. When they're not, they're teenagers. Watch for lone gunmen, crazy, isolated, because that makes you not have to have the conversation, because they're crazy, Erica. You can't control that.
In other
so
countries,
watch that language being used.
There's crazy. There's mental health crises in other countries, but do they have this epidemic? No.
They don't.
And when I was driving here today, I passed the Denver Tech Center. And the only reason why I bring that up is because they have dozens of American flags. And it's a beautiful sight to drive by and see all of our American flags. And it feels very prideful to pass those American flags every day on the way to work. When I saw them all at half staff this morning, it reminded me, coming from a military family, I associate half staff with soldiers dying. Our children are the soldiers dying. The war against the right to bear arms, guess who's paying the ultimate price? Our kids. Shame on us. Before we go, we're going to leave you with this poem from activist Amanda Gorman.